wine as beer, right?
Yeah.
But I guess I'm wrong in the sense that to sell wine, we need a Class A. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Okay.
that correct?
Very good.
As far as
Okay.
our understanding, it's silly, it doesn't make any sense to me, but there's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff about
yeah.
our alcohol laws that make no sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, according to what we've read and looked into,
Very good.
this is the license we need to get.
And I tend to agree, Chair. I mean, we should be more clear with our guidelines. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Anybody else for presentations? All right.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Kitzman. I am from the Minor Store, 924 North Taylor Drive. Reason we are asking for a Class A liquor license is for our gas station. Currently, our store does have one. Our gas station has a license to sell beer, and we're looking for Class A liquor license to sell hard beverages such as High Noon and ready-to-drink cocktail mixes.
At the gas station location?
Yes, at the gas station.
Okay. Did you understand what we were talking about before, having it like separate from the actual store?
Yes.
Does the gas station have the ability to do that?
We have, it's a sliding glass locking door. We could look into the potential of separating that to maybe rope it off before, we close at 10. I know the liquor sales end at 9, and we could rope that off, keep that separate.
Does that meet our city qualifications as far as keeping of separation?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question or the background?
So Jeff was saying that they would rope off, but it's not completely separate from the rest of the gas station.
Like I said, there is potential of some past policy that we had that I don't know of. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't want to make a statement on something that I am not certain of at this point, unfortunately.
All right. I think come back in 2 weeks. I think everybody should come back in 2 weeks when we have a little bit more information and we can make a better judgment on these. If that works for you.
Not going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be 3 weeks.
Or 3 weeks. Attorney Majerus. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we've got 5 weeks in, or 5 Mondays in June, so we're taking that last one.
All right. Thank you. All right. Yeah. So come back in 3 weeks and we'll make a more well-informed decision on this.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. So we will move on. Do we want to talk about 7, seeing as we've...
So 7, I believe, is on the agenda as discussion and possible action. So because it's discussion only, nothing needs to be filed as far as I'm aware. Is that correct? Right. Liz?
Sorry, what?
If something's just discussion and possible action, it doesn't need to be filed or anything. We can just, okay, yep. We don't need to do anything on that, so we could
So we
open and close that one.
We'll open and close that one and reconvene on that in 3 weeks with when we have more information to make a more well-informed decision. So we'll move on to item number 8, RO number 31-25-26, a direct referral by the city clerk submitting various license applications.
Thank you. So the reason this one is a direct referral is because the change of premises are happening soon enough. And like I said, there's this 5th week in there, so we want to make sure everything's getting done as soon as possible. So that's why this one is direct referred today. So I believe that there are 3 on there, technically more, but one of them has several dates. It's all the same thing. So for the first one, staff is recommending granting the permanent change of premise to Turks and Timbers Bar and Grill. That's the bar itself is a different property owner. I believe it's like Ekabar LLC or something. So this proposed change is for Turks and Timbers to use their backed paved area of their property as part of their premise. They're going to be fencing everything completely in with a gate back there. They have a conditional use permit in order to have that fence close to that property. There's some zoning requirements there, and that has been granted. So really, there is no reason that the application should be denied, as I can see. So I recommend, our staff recommends granting that application.
Any questions? Alder Heidemann.
Nope, I'm sorry, that was before.
All right. Alder Perella.
Just as a clarification, so there is no change in the address
No.
of the license, just a change of the owner of the license, right?
So there's no change in the owner at all. So imagine a parcel, and the current premise has a portion of that parcel. This change of premise will include more of that same parcel. So it's on the same property, same owner, same liquor license. It's just going to be extending where they can and serve that alcohol.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Otherwise, I am looking for a motion.
Make a motion?
One moment before we get all the way there, there's some more applications here that I'd like to talk about. So before we get there, one moment,
right.
thank you. So there are a few more temporary change of premise applications, one for Crayon Fusion. They're going to be using part of, still on that same parcel that they own, the south and west sides of their parking lot of the building. They're going to be having a community cornhole tournament, so they'd like to be able to serve the alcohol outside there. Any questions on that application at all? Okay, and then the last one is for Paradigm Coffee. They're having a series of free summer concerts on the 5 Fridays in August, so there's 5 temporary changes of premise here for that. This will include the Uptown Parklet. Paradigm has already started their special event application for that event, so staff is recommending granting the application contingent to the completion and granting of that special event application.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, now I'm looking for a motion.
Yeah, I move that we accept these with the caveats that are included with it,
With staff recommendation.
with staff recommendations, yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That is approved. Our next meeting date will be July 14th, 2025. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're adjourned at 5:07. Thank you, everybody.
is, well, 5:10 immediately-ish following the licensing hearings and Public Safety Committee. So I'll call the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. We'll begin with the roll. Alder Close. Here. Alder LaFave. Here. Alder Decker. Here. Alder Perella. Here. Mitchell's here as well. We have a full quorum. Will you all please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, then, per usual, barring objection from committee, we'll jump over item 4 for the introductions, and seeing no objection, move on to item 5, the approval of the minutes from the June 9th meeting. Any discussion on those minutes? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, then seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Minutes are approved. Takes us into item 6, which was a direct referral of RO number 32 of 2526 by Director of Planning and Development Taylor Zeinert, submitting a memo summarizing the recommendations of Bold Path Consulting relating to the structure of the Planning and Development Department.
Yes, so first to point out a clerical error on bullet point 3, it has program compliance specialist. That should actually be building inspection service specialist. But to summarize, in 2024, Bold Path Consulting came on in and they met with staff to talk about restructuring and their experiences working here. With that being said, then Bold Path Consulting had given us a recommendation to move forward with 4 different roles: the lead inspector, the zoning administrator, the administrative coordinator, and deputy director. At this time, we would like to move forward with the 3, the lead inspector, the zoning administrator, and then the administrative coordinator. With that being said, you'll see that blurb there to fund these positions. The changes that were previously budgeted for the planning supervisor position will be eliminated. Therefore, these funds are now available. Any questions?
Alder Perella?
Just as a means of clarification, I thought I understood correctly, but please confirm. So the changes you are proposing are only, which I trust completely what you are saying. I mean, it's your department, so I trust it completely. I just trying to understand. Basically, there are 2 the title changes, and then the first one is an upgrade. Right, so it go from grade 14 to grade 15, and which means, of course, a change in salary, I assume, right? Which you explain afterwards. But those 2, associate planning to zoning administrator, and the second one does not.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Alder Close?
Here with the title changes, it looks like they're moving to a supervisory role as opposed to an individual contributor. Is that what I'm seeing here? I see associate planner to planning and zoning administrator.
Correct. So the current, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
The current model has 12 people directly reporting to the director position. Frankly, that's just not sustainable. So to have a structure where people feel free that they have more one-on-one time to connect with a supervisor is what we're trying to do here.
Thank you.
Alder Decker?
My question, program compliance specialist, what exactly?
Yep, and that's the typo that I had mentioned, the program compliance specialist. That's someone that takes care of the CDBG funds, the Community Development Block Grant.
Okay.
That was a typo.
Okay.
It is supposed to say the building inspection services.
Okay.
That role helps oversee, they are lovingly called the chaos coordinator, where they help with the building inspections and the permitting and things of that nature.
Okay, I guess my concern was as I was looking about compliance officer and things like that. I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure that that's still in the as a job title. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from committee? I know this one's listed for possible action. We have the memo. Is there a motion we're looking for to approve these changes with this, or is there going to be a follow-up resolution to be acted on for those title changes?
I would guess a follow-up resolution, but I would defer to my colleagues that, no, that's okay. The question is would this need a resolution for a title change?
I'm hearing. Understanding the question.
Restating the question, we have the memo laying out the recommendations that are the recommendations from the consultant that the department is recommending are implemented. It's discussion and possible action section, but we don't have a resolution indicating the committee or council's intention to effectuate those changes. Can we make a motion on that? Or would there be a follow-up?
I can speak to that. Can you activate the mic?
Thought I did, sorry. Should be good now.
All right, thank you. So we met last week to discuss whether a resolution was necessary, and it was our understanding that as long as this change was budget neutral, that one would not be necessary as a standalone resolution. Instead, it would be bundled into the annual budget presentations once they have an impact on the budget. But if that understanding is different than council's understanding, we can certainly develop a resolution to bring forward on Monday's council meeting right away.
Sure. I was just looking to see if the committee needed to take any particular action on this one. Sounds like that is not the case.
No, we don't believe that action would be necessary on this one. This is just an informational memo with an opportunity to discuss. But if council wants to change that approach, we can look at that for you.
Sure. Thank you. In that case, I'll ask one more time if there's any questions or comments. Finance Director, I see your mic is green. Okay. All right, then we'll move on. Thank you. Next up is item 7, which was a direct referral of resolution number 43 of 2526, a resolution authorizing retaining outside legal counsel to represent the city in a quiet title action regarding the parcel number listed on the agenda.
Thank you. I can come up to the podium if you would prefer, but this is a matter where the city owns a parcel, or the city believes that it owns a parcel of land, which it has asserted ownership activities over for many, many years. However, when attempting to sell the parcel, some issues were found during the title search that call into question whether the documents necessary to convey ownership to the city all of those years ago were properly handled. So a quiet title action is an action in circuit court to ask a court to basically declare a particular action. In this case, we're going to be asking the court to declare the city as owner of the property and therefore legally allowed to sell it.
Questions or comments? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve on this one after Aldebrella.
Yes, we are seeking a outside legal counsel just because of capacity of our department or for other reasons?
I would say capacity and expertise. Quiet title action is a very specific real estate matter that I don't have personal experience with, but also our office is understaffed at the moment.
Very good, thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, then we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. That one is approved. Brings us to item 8, which was a direct referral of resolution number 47 of 2526, authorizing an amendment to the 2025 budget for the transfer of the remaining cash balance from the TID 1E funds to the Affordable Housing Fund.
Thank you. This item you have seen before for the other 6 TIDs that we closed several years ago. This TID, environmental TID 1, closed last year, and it has been our practice here at the city to transfer the remaining funds in the TID fund balance as soon as it closes to the Affordable Housing Fund to assist with programs and purchases, things like that, in order to help the affordable housing side.
Questions or comments on this one?
Yeah, I have a curiosity. First of all, I'm very happy about that. But I also was wondering, did we extend that TID 1 more year, or there was no way to do that?
This TID was not allowed to be extended. There is state statute that requires certain types of TIDs only to be extended that year. We attempted, but this one was opened within that window of time that's not allowed.
May I, Chair? Basically, this amount is just a residual cash flow from that TID.
That is correct. The school district, county, and Tech College have already received their portion of it. This is the city's remaining amount.
Thank you so much.
Oh, they're close.
I'm really glad to see this money being moved over to the Affordable Housing Fund, but I would like to know, is this a standard operating procedure that you're following to move this money from the TID to the Affordable Housing Fund, or is this something that is codified somewhere? Is there an ordinance that requires the TID funds to move over to the Affordable Housing Fund?
Sure, there is nothing in the code that requires us to do this. It really could be utilized for anything, but this has been the practice with the last 6, and so we brought it forward based on the guidance from Administrator Bradley that we continue that practice with council's approval, of course.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? If no more, we'd be looking for motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, then seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. That one is approved. Takes us to item 9, which was a direct referral of resolution number 48 of 2526, a resolution authorizing an amendment to the 2025 budget for the purchase of 834 North Water Street from Blue Moon Studio Incorporated.
Thank you again. This item, as you know, was approved last week through council, the purchase of the Blue Moon Studio. This is just allowing us to amend the budget to make sure that we have the funds to make said purchase. So it will be done out of the capital fund with debt proceeds. There is intention to potentially reimburse that amount at a later date, but we also wanted to make sure that we have the declaration of intent language, which allows us then by IRS rules to reimburse ourselves with debt proceeds when we come back in a few weeks with that.
Sounds good. Questions, comments? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second, and seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Takes us to item 10, which is a direct referral of resolution number 49 of 2526, authorizing an amendment to the 2025 budget to reallocate unused 2023 CDBG administration expense program funds to eligible park lighting projects.
I will take this one as well. The projects both at Kiwanis Park and Wildwood Park were completed utilizing grant funds. We have unspent proceeds from our CDBG entitlement funds, so it felt like a responsible way to utilize those funds, complete the project, and they both are qualified projects through the CDBG program. So this was our attempt to both spend those funds and get a project completed.
Questions or comments on this one? Alder Perrella.
Which one? So Kiwanis and which one is the other one?
Sure, it's Kiwanis Park by the pickleball courts, and then Wildwood Park, which has the softball, so the parking lot there.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, then seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. That one is approved as well. Takes us to item 11, which was a direct referral of General Ordinance number 9 of 2526, an ordinance amending section 2-469 of the Sheboygan Municipal Code so as to facilitate clear guidelines to payroll regarding the municipal judge salary.
Thank you. This is a straightforward ordinance, just providing clarification to payroll that the payroll calendar starts the first payroll cycle of May. This conforms to our other ordinances for elected positions, and upon research actually conforms to how the ordinance was initially drafted. For some reason over the years, the language was modified, and we're not entirely sure how. So,
Fair enough. Questions or comments? If not, we'd be looking for that motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. That one is approved. Takes us to item 12, which was the direct referral of Charter Ordinance number 2 of 2526. Charter Ordinance to amend the Charter of the City of Sheboygan related to the manner of selection and tenure of the City Attorney. Did anybody want to speak to this one? Otherwise, I can a bit as well. Attorney Majerus.
hi. So I'll speak to this very briefly and just offer that generally our office has a conflict of interest to provide you legal advice on what to do, what is in the city's best interest here. I can answer some general questions about options and things like that. Attorney Nick Serwin is not available today, but he will be available at council. So if any questions come up today that I'm not comfortable answering, I can make note of them, and Attorney Serwin can be prepared to answer those before the full body on Monday, or following the next 2 Mondays from now.
Thank you. Just a little bit of background. This one might seem kind of familiar to everybody. The reason I asked to have this put back on the agenda right away is the proposed changes for the city attorney's position is, a multi-part process. It involves the job description, the general ordinances, and the charter ordinance. The charter ordinance itself only addresses appointing versus electing, which, based on the conversations we had at council, I didn't hear that there was, that particular portion of it was a subject of debate. Once passed by council, there's a 60-day period before that charter ordinance can go into effect. And during that time, the job description that we had sent to council, the general ordinance changes that we had sent to council that will fill in a lot more of the individual details of how everything works can be worked through as we're in that 60-day period if this moves forward. So this doesn't have any details in it beside the singular change of how the individual who holds the position gets to it. Elder Decker?
Yes, I would like to put this on hold only because of the fact that Attorney Serwin is not here and here to advise us. And I have some questions personally. I don't know about other members of the committee, but I have some questions for Attorney Serwin, and I would like to make a motion to hold.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on holding. Any discussion on holding? Alder Burrell.
I agree with that idea. I had questions already, and I reached out to Attorney Serwin. However, and he made an effort to answer. However, it's still is not clear, and so I would definitely support that idea of holding it.
Alder Close, you were agreeing before, Chip? Okay. I guess my opinion would be that we've had a lot of background on this particular charter ordinance, and we do still have the opportunity to ask those questions at council, but I'm guessing I can read the tea leaves here and know that we'll be holding this one anyway.
I think it's imperative that we get this right at committee rather than sending it to council where it gets tweaked or something. We don't want to do like we did last time. I think that's not the right way to do it. The place to make the changes is here instead of at council. That's why I would prefer doing it here. So,
general question for the committee: what types of changes would we be considering for the charter ordinance specifically, not the job description and the list of general ordinance changes, but specifically this charter?
I guess is what I would like to see something in there where we have some kind of separate, like as to who the city attorney reports to and how they report to them. That's my concern. I don't necessarily have it. I'm not necessarily against them reporting to city administrator, but I would also like to have them have be city administrator and or city administrator or something like that. So that's my concern on this one.
Thank you. See, that was exactly the reason of my confusion to start with, is that the way this item 12 is presented tonight, it is obviously only the chart regarding changing the role from elected to appointed. And on that, I have no, I know that I would approve that as we did already. I would. However, my confusion comes from the fact that a vote by the Common Council was expressed, although then vetoed. That though tells me that more discussion on this item would be appropriate. And if that is the case, I don't see when else or where else we can have this discussion. And we could have this discussion at this time if we had the opportunity of having more inputs and talk about it. So to have an actual good, productive discussion, this would be the time.
Thank you. And I can address that point a little. Because charter ordinance is only one of the three pieces, and the only part that it addresses is appointing versus electing, I would say that those documents that we referred over to council, job description and the general ordinance changes, since those will actually be what effectuate the details beyond that, whether those are put on the council agenda or I imagine probably referred out to either committee of the whole or kicked back to this committee, that would be the time that we're going to have those more detailed, in-depth conversations, because passing those is where we are actually just making the decisions on those details. Attorney Majerus.
Thank you. Yeah, to reiterate what Chairperson Mitchell said, this document is asking the body to refer to council a recommendation to change the position from elected to appointed. All of the nuance that would go along with the position would be fleshed out in the job description and or the general municipal code provisions that relate to the position. The charter ordinance has a 60-day delay for becoming effective. So at a bare minimum, that would give you 2 months to work through all of the details that the council is interested in or committed in seeing as part of this transition before anything takes effect. This document is really just the standalone transition from elected to appointed.
Thank you. Alder Decker.
I guess my question is then why was it in the last resolution? Why was it stated in the last resolution? That's why that's where I'm confused. The last resolution had that in it. This one does not. So why the change, or what's the difference? I guess that's.
I can answer that one as well. I had them printed out side by side earlier today going through the original charter ordinance that came through this committee last month or weeks ago. It didn't have any details about reporting. The language as originally approved at committee was substantially similar to what we have in front of us. What we have in front of us includes further citation to state statutes, but otherwise it's the same language.
There was something in there in the maybe it was in the information packet then that came with it, because it had that listed in there. That's my quote, because there was something in there that had that in there.
The job description might have been listed under the same agenda item that time around.
Yes, it was. That is where the confusion and the question is. I mean, I am not against the ordinance change as far as that goes. I am for that. I just want to make sure that it is clear as to how we what the table of organization will be, and I guess that's so.
I understand that entirely, and this time around, we do only have the charter ordinance without anything else attached to it.
In that case, I will vote against the hold and let it go through.
Would you like to rescind your motion?
I will rescind my motion.
Okay. Assuming I'm remembering right that you're the one that made it?
Yes.
Okay. Other close.
So just a point of clarification. So we would be voting on this charter ordinance today, which would be making the position appointed as opposed to elected. And at a later date and time, we would be voting on the organizational structure of this position. Is that correct? Or how the leadership is?
Yes, that's
or the
correct.
job description.
So when this was first presented, there were two items presented in tandem. One was the charter ordinance, and then the other was the general Sheboygan Municipal Code provisions, as well as the job description. Those items have been held pending passage of the charter ordinance. So if and when the charter ordinance is approved by council, thereafter, the other matter could be brought forward to whichever body you deem most appropriate for further discussion and amendments or passage or rejection.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Perrell?
So thank you all for the clarification. We went all circle, and yes, that is correct. Okay, so we are voting only on the Charter of Ordinance, and therefore that's fine. However, we have to admit it was confusing because it looked different than the one we talked before, and that is not the most, it's confusing. So, and also confusing to the public, of course. But Attorney Majoros, you said that it is possible we can come back to the subject of the details of the job description. Whose responsibility is going to be to bring that up? And is that something that is going to happen by which action? How do we make sure that that will be discussed?
So it was held in this committee. So it was not?
I believe it's on the Common Council docket. With a recommendation to approve.
Okay. In that case, then council would make the motion to refer it to a particular committee for action or further discussion to come back to council on action, unless the council wanted to have the discussion right then and there.
From where, Chair, may I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So from where would that be, make the recommendation to the Common Council? So today we approve this, which is just a Charter of Ordinance, changing the role from elected to appointed. Okay, and this one is going to be going to the Common Council. Then when will the other part or the other option, and who is going to refer it to the Common Council? Who is going to proactively put it anywhere to be referred to the Common Council?
Well, the mayor controls the Common Council agenda, so if he is prepared to put it back on the agenda for discussion, that would be his decision to make. I would expect that he would make that decision in consultation with council leadership. And then as to where it goes from there or from what,
very good. Thank you very much. And so, again, going back to Circle, I just want to close saying I really hope that the mayor will consider bringing this item back to discussion, as this is an item that the Common Council has voted on, although he vetoed this decision. But I really hope that he will consider bringing this item specifically regarding the job descriptions and the detail of the reporting scheme for discussion. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, general discussion on this one? Was a good discussion. I believe if there's nothing else, we would be looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, then seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it and the motion passes. That one is approved as well. Next up is item 13 for the presentation on the 2026 budget parameters for discussion only.
Good evening. So I am presenting on behalf of Administrator Bradley today, who after we presented the schedule, had a conflict. So I'm going to go over briefly what direction was given to the department heads and some items in the schedule just to draw your attention to them. If you have any questions regarding the upcoming budget schedule or parameters, please feel free to ask. So the budget parameters or the memo to department heads went out last Monday. They have been told mostly to keep it status quo within their budget. That meaning any known increases can be entered into the system, such as a contract increase for a service that's continued. For example, I always use the audit for finance as an example because we know we have to do that annually. For any additional requests, they have to fill out a spreadsheet that has the line items that they're requesting and a justification for the reasoning behind their request. In addition, if they are requesting any positions in addition to their current staffing levels, which is what we always budget with, is the current table of organization that has been approved throughout the budget process or by HR, if, again, like planning today, if there was an amendment that was approved that was budget neutral, that flows through to the next year's budget. This year, in order to have a request considered, the department heads actually need to work with finance, as in myself or Evan, in order to make sure that the calculations are done ahead of the request being made of how much cost there is associated with the position request. In addition, there will be the capital plan coming forward. We are still working through the update to the capital plan. We have previously had the 5-year plan where projects come and they just are brought forward on a project-by-project basis. We are working towards a more we'll say robust program where we're actually planning for future replacements every year so that when the 10 years come due and we have an item that needs to be replaced, that we have those funds available to replace right away rather than having it a request that comes project by project in that capital plan. So that is hopefully going to be coming forward with the budget, as you will see in October. I'm going to then touch on some of the schedule items. Today, of course, Administrator was going to present the budget parameters. You will see that on Thursday, Finance Department is hosting a budget training for all staff so that we can make sure that everyone knows how to enter everything and what parameters, again, are expected for the department heads. On July 7th, there will be the alderperson budget training. So we'll go through quite a bit detail of the finance components, including where our revenue comes from, how tax levy is calculated, all of those things. So of course, I encourage you to come to the training if you are interested, and if you have any questions or things that you want to know ahead of that, please, of course, feel free to reach out to me, and I can make sure then, too, that we cover those in that training so everyone is getting that available information. August 15th is the deadline for department heads to turn in their budgets. So at that point in time, the department heads will submit finance and administration reviews those requests and the budgets, and we meet with the department heads to try to understand what their requests are, what changes were made, and making sure that Administrator Bradley has the entire background before he makes any suggestions to the Common Council. We have on the schedule that September 15th, that's the Committee of the Whole Budget Workshop, and the full preliminary budget will be online. So last year we started by, about that same time, we started with last year being the first year that we did this, we posted the entire budget online with every line detail. So if you have it, if you have the time and you're interested in seeing every line of detail from the budget that the department heads are requesting, we do have that preliminary budget posted by September 15th. That does give Common Council about a month to review and ask questions of department heads or review and make potential suggestions for changes, things like that, before it's referred back to council. On October 14th would be Committee of the Whole approval, referred back to Common Council. And the final adoption would be November 3rd of this year. And of course, that's ahead of the tax bill preparation. So it is a tight deadline, but we have at least a couple times where we can talk through exactly what's in the budget and have any recommendations or changes come from this body.
Thank you. Any questions from committee? Alder Close.
You mentioned earlier that the direction was to maintain a status quo budget. Beyond that, is there any kind of strategy or overarching direction that you've been given beyond status quo for like prioritizing IT infrastructure or prioritizing public safety, something like that, that you've been given prior to the budgetary process beginning?
Sure. So there wasn't any specific items that were pulled out based on Administrator Bradley's guidance for the compilation of the budget. I will say that we have had annual increases to the transfers that go to the IT fund, for example, over the past several years to assist with the increase of technology needs and especially the cybersecurity as we went through the event of last fall. But there was nothing specific where it was public safety, for example, being a key area of focus, I should say. So we do know our preliminary numbers, which are very, very rough estimates at this point because we don't have our final assessments or anything like that. And we will say that like our previous budget years, it is going to be tight. And when we're trying to make sure that we're giving increases in salaries and there might be benefit changes that also have costs associated with them, we just want to make sure we're being the most diligent as we can with the taxpayer funds.
Thank you.
Alder Perella.
You were very good in presenting the whole calendar, but will you send us the calendar, the possible kind of potential calendar?
It was on the council agenda last week, so but I am more than happy to send it directly to you.
No, that's fine. So I can go back to that packet. I don't recall that. Will we be able to see what the department heads have asked before the decision of what ends up on in the budget? To compare, is that possible to have,
Yes.
for example, the department heads ask this based on these justifications, but this made it to the budget?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a record that we would be able to give to anybody who requested it. So we can make sure that you get that.
Upon request. That's fine.
It's up to Administrator Bradley if he wants to present that in a different manner.
No, that's fine. Just to know that if I want to have that information, I have to proactively ask for it, right?
I would say if you don't see it, you can definitely ask for it. It's
Very
again
good.
up to Administrator Bradley how he wants to get that information.
I understand. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Alder Close.
And I apologize if I'm getting too far into the weeds here, but from an accounting perspective or from a budgetary perspective, how would risks such as inflation and things like that be taken into consideration during the budgetary process?
Yeah, if a department head knows kind of what they're up against when it comes to purchasing, for example, when the tariffs came through, that was a concern for a lot of our bigger construction or projects that have, let's say, a little bit more of a volatile cost component with it. So we ask the department heads to, utilize their best knowledge that they have in order to account for those. And then we also work with our purchasing agent who is in the finance department who has some contacts who could at least help us guide in the right direction if we know of something coming forward as well.
No follow-up. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? If not, this one was for discussion only, so no action is needed. Thank you. And with that, the next regularly scheduled meeting date is tentatively set for July 14th, and we have exhausted our agenda and are looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
6 o'clock, and I will call the Public Works meeting to order. We'll start out with the roll call. Alder Menzer.
Here.
Alder Borse.
Here.
Alder Rust.
Present.
And Alder Bellinger is, I believe, on his way, so he will be here shortly. We will go. We will start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, we'll start out with real quick. We have a lot of people here. I suppose we should probably do a quick introduction of staff. I am Dean Decker, chair of the committee. I'm an alderperson from District 6. I'll start out that way.
Alder Zach Russ, vice chair, and District 8.
So go ahead.
Alder Susie Borse, District 5.
Alderman John Bellinger, I apologize for being a couple minutes late. District 2.
Alderman Ryan Menzer, District 1.
Okay. I think we can dispense with the staff members. I think we just you committee. Okay. I am going to do a couple quick things. First of all, I'm going to just announce a parliamentary procedure for this and for future meetings. I'm going to ask that the members of the committee that do not make motions until staff presents to committee members, and the committee members have a chance to speak from now on. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And then I'm also going to make a quick change in the agenda. I am going to move agenda item number 6, which is the one you're all here for. I'm going to move that to the last here because we have a lot of staff members here that don't necessarily have to be here for this, and I know it's probably going to be a longer discussion. So I hope you apologize, but I think that's probably best for our staff members, so I'm going to give them a little bit more. So we're going to go on to let's see, let's go to approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any comments on those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Those are approved. Okay, we will move on to number 7, direct referral resolution number 422526, a resolution authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into contract with C3 Storage LLC for the leasing of city property for marine vessel storage operation. Mike, which one are you at? It's your... There we go. Is that you, Mike? There we go.
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, committee members. Tonight we are seeking approval to enter into contract with C3 Storage LLC for leasing city property for marine vessel winter storage. The storage location remains the same as it has been for over 20 years. C3 Storage assumes all responsibility with no impact to city or its employees. The rent has increased from $3,000 in 2024 to $4,000 in 2025. This contract is very similar to the one approved in 2024 with the exception of increasing the rent payment. Staff does recommend moving forward with this resolution to extend additional amenities to the Harbor Center Marina. And I like to ask if there's any questions regarding this resolution.
Any questions from committee members at all?
Motion to approve.
Motion is made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That's approved. Thank you very much, Mike. Okay. Move on to number 8, direct referral resolution number 422526, a resolution releasing from parcel number 5928100770115 driveway restoration agreements. Kevin, I guess this would be you, huh? Okay. There we go. Thank you.
Back in 1966, the city originally entered into this agreement with the Memorial Hospital, and over the course of the next 25 years entered into 5 more. I don't know the exact reasoning why these agreements were entered into. These are agreements that are in place to verify that the property owner replaces the curb after having a driveway opening installed. We typically don't use these anymore, and as we are redeveloping that property, we need to vacate these agreements so that we have a clean title moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That is approved. All right, number 9, direct referral resolution number 462526, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works and Engineering to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Sheboygan Area School District for recreation department activities and events held at city parks. Is this one for Travis or for, maybe Jairus? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Staff is asking council to approve this memorandum of understanding with the Sheboygan Area School District. It covers portions of park property that is not currently contemplated in our park facilities rental program or within the special event program. So the expectations outlined in this MOU relate to the nature of Sheboygan Area School District's rec program's intended uses for the properties, dates, times, needs, cleanup obligations, things along those lines. Also ensuring that we have adequate communication between the parties going into each summer rec season to make sure that both parties' needs are being represented without undue costs to staff for having to deal with unanticipated overtime to address what's considered to be a last-minute need. It would be one that's not communicated in time for DPW scheduling and things like that.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Motion? Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That is approved. Okay, now we'll go back to number 6. I guess the one everyone's here for. Direct referral resolution number 442526, a resolution approving the June 2025 Evergreen Park Trail Improvement Proposal. Joe, this starts out with you. You gotta hit your light so I know which one you're at.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to start off by giving a lot of thank yous here. The original request was at the City Council meeting on March 3rd, and it was held because of, it was very apparent there was questions, concerns from the community, and that chance was given to just hold back and get a lot of those answered. So first of all, I want to thank you, the public, the community that had concerns. You care about our parks, and then you're using them, and you want to see that things are done right. So first of all, if you were one of those people that had concerns, questions, and actually were willing to listen and give your side of things, thank you. Much appreciated, and I think everybody can attest to that. I want to thank the other people, the committee members here. I know every one of you put a lot more than just a few hours into this subject. You met individually with people, you met as groups. You know what's going on tonight without me having to rehash everything. So it is one of the biggest projects that I have ever been a part of, and I want to thank you for being a part of this too and listening to people. Last of all, I want to thank Sheboygan County Cycling, especially Nathaniel, who I'm going to ask to speak tonight, and Judd Bowman. Just hours among hours, them and their group. These are family people. They have 9-to-5 jobs, and they've put just a ton of time into this because of the belief of what Evergreen Park can be, what the trails, what we can get out of it, what their kids in the future can receive from it, what the people that are not bikers or bikers can receive from what they can do. They have a proven track record. They've been raising money. They paid for IMBA professionals to come in and do an inventory and do a plan design, not a design, but a concept design. They have raised more money since then, and they are very eager to move forward with design. And designing these trails in the future, once they receive approval, is the next step, and it will answer a lot of questions. So I'm simply here tonight asking that this committee will make the recommendation to the council to approve this concept so we can move forward and make Evergreen better. I'd like to turn it over to Nathaniel, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead, Nathaniel. You get you on that. I think you got the right mic there. Yep, there you go.
All right, thank you all so much. I don't have any graphics or anything, so I'm just going to share a few words and give some highlights on changes to the proposal. Start with thank you, Alderman of Sheboygan, for having us here today. I believe everyone is aware of the proposal set forth and has gone through it in great detail. But first, I'd like to give a little bit of background info. In the summer of 2022, SEC representatives attended a public meeting with the Parks Department. It was just a meeting that Parks Department posted on the website, inviting people to come and, well, a general public meeting. Myself and several others from SEC attended. At that meeting, we agreed to work with the city to rebuild the trails to ensure sustainability, a great user experience, and address some very real environmental concerns we see in the park today. Shortly after, we became the adopted park of Evergreen Park and have been maintaining the trails over the last 3 years, including reopening the trails after the major windstorm of 2022. Prior to this, Joe Curlin of the Parks Department and Carl Martins worked together to bring IMBA on site for an initial investigation performed in 2019 that was used as a framework for DPW and SEC. I'd also like to highlight the history goes beyond that. These trails have been shared use for decades. Previously, there were volunteer organizations known as Fat Cats, the JCs, small social groups, and even local businesses hosting cleanup days. I bring all this up to highlight the vibrant history of shared use trails in the park and how long this project has been going on. This proposal is based on the IMBA assessment and concept plan from spring 2024 and a few differences. I'd like to share a few key differences. Most notably, we have removed the paved pump track and the jump lines from the proposal. We have received many comments of disappointment of the removal, and to these individuals, please know we will be exploring other locations within Sheboygan County in the future. And in the meantime, please go visit Firefly Park in Wauwatosa. They just finished a paved track there last month. In addition, you will find that this proposal removes the NICA, or National Interscholastic Cycling Association, label from the proposal. The trails in this area are currently and will always remain shared use. Community feedback was that this designation sent the message it was exclusive and would be used by the NICA students only. You will also find that new to the proposal, we're including the existing ski/hike trails on the map. We are not proposing any changes be made to these trails, but we would like to work with Public Works to ensure that they are added to trailhead maps for improved navigation. Some folks in the community were worried we wanted to remove these trails since they were not on our first map. And to those people, I want to apologize, and we're happy we were able to clear up that confusion. SEC has hosted 4 public meetings sharing information and taking community questions and concerns into account. During the 2024 meeting, we worked with the city to host an online survey where we received 197 responses, spreading invites to it via social media, city resources, newspapers, flyers, other nonprofits, and much more. In addition, this topic has been included in numerous city-hosted meetings, many where we were present and heard from community members, and continue to include that feedback into our proposals you see today. We believe what you see today accurately represents what the community desires, a quality shared use trail experience that ensures the forest is protected. Over the last few months, we and the alders here today have heard many additional concerns from the community. We would like to thank the community for that feedback. We learned through this process that some of our literature was lacking detail to clearly convey the goals of the proposal, and we believe that our new proposal and supporting materials accurately convey that Evergreen Park is and will remain a shared use park. A few common concerns we heard along the way I'd like to address for just a moment. We are not proposing removing any trees in the forest or in the park. Volunteers of SEC are at the core outdoor enthusiasts and would love to spend time in the great outdoors. On a personal note, I have 2 young kids, 1 and 3, and my wife and I, we love to take them out in the woods, whether it be evergreen or elsewhere. We have shared that we'll be working with the city to evaluate trees that possess safety concerns along the trail and address them as necessary. Some concerns raised early on focus on user safety when you place a biker and a hiker on the same trail. We have shared numerous examples and studies backed by facts showing that shared use trails are the norm in Wisconsin, the Midwest, and the country. During the design phase, we will prioritize user safety on the trails. Some common methods to ensure user safety, to give some examples, include education of the trail users at trailheads, directional trails with bikers going one direction and hikers going another, and modern trail design to ensure good sight lines when using the trails. Refinement of this will come from trail experts during the design phase. Lastly, one of the large questions was who is paying for this? And we would just like to clarify that SEC is leading the fundraising efforts and will be asking for donations from local businesses, foundations, individuals applying for grants and hosting fundraising events. The city of Sheboygan has it on their outdoor rec plan for $150,000, split into $50,000, 3 of the next 5 years, to be allocated to trails within within Evergreen Park. It is critical to know these are grants the city will apply for that only they have access to. There are many grant opportunities specific for shared use trail and outdoor recreation that only municipalities can apply for. No funding is expected from the city if these grant opportunities do not work out. Over the last 3 years, we have heard hundreds of comments of support for this project. To date, the most excited group has been those with young families, and I believe you'll hear from some of them tonight. Families with young kids desire outdoor recreation that is approachable to young kids and close to home. We have shared in the past that Sheboygan County lacks beginner-friendly single-track trails for new riders, hikers, and kids to enjoy. Creating shared-use trail system that can encourage more community members to go outside is a key goal of this project. Additionally, we have heard from many community members that they have changed their mind and support our proposal in front of you today. These comments of support from those who had previously not supported us mean the world to us. It tells us that our hundreds upon hundreds of volunteer hours spent updating this proposal, hosting public meetings, and hearing community concerns were all worth the effort. SEC is committed to bringing improved outdoor recreation to Evergreen Park and the city of Sheboygan. To ensure more of the community can enjoy it than today, as it stands, much of the trails within the park are confusing and uninviting to new hikers, bikers, and families exploring the park. On top of unsustainable and eroding. Thank you for the opportunity to work with you, the alders, the city, and the community to upgrade the trails within Evergreen Park into something we can all be proud of and enjoy together.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Why don't you just hang up there 1 second? I just want to, because I do this way, if any of the committee members have any questions for Nathaniel right away, if anybody does, if you want to push in, otherwise I'll let him sit. But questions, comments? Okay. I just want to start to say thank you for all your work. I know this has been an arduous journey for you guys. You guys have really worked hard. I applaud both sides. I mean, the ones that were against some of these proposals and that, I think that they've helped improve the plan very much. And I think that you guys have really worked hard. And I appreciate, I was at a couple of your meetings at the library. The last one last week was very, very informative, and it was really nice for you guys to bring it in. I think you guys have really done a good job working through things, and you learned a little about politics too, I guess. Alrighty.
Ask Nathaniel a question or not? No? It's an easy question.
Sure, go ahead.
It's a very easy question. When you talk, you say trails all the time, but there are those 2 features that aren't trails. So that was my concern. There's something by the Shaw Playground.
Yes.
For the kids. And then there's something further in by the 4 trails too.
We have it fully detailed in the proposal, but there's a kids' bike playground near Shaw Playground. There's 2 zones marked C1, C2 that we're marking as skill zones, and those we're proposing to still be shared use. There will be some rock features, wooden features to give people an opportunity to explore the woods in another way. And, again, we'll have walk-arounds or ride-arounds where applicable to ensure that it's, enjoyable and accessible to as many people as we can.
Okay. I also just want to, again, thank you guys for coming. I'm going to open up to discussions. I'm going to limit it to 3 minutes per person. Travis, you got the phone there? When Travis gives me the thumbs, you're going to be cut off. I hope that if we could try not to be too repetitive. If we have the same thing over and over again, I mean, to be respectful of the members of the committee here and of the rest of them, I guess we'll start out. Go right ahead, ma'am. Just could state your name and address, that'll be fine.
Okay. My name is Suzanne Grace, and I live at 3411 North 6th Street in Sheboygan. My husband, Don Grace, and I love Sheboygan very much, and it's a great place with lots of stuff to do for retirees, which we're very happy to be here. Been here for 8 years, bought our house 8 years ago. We love bike riding. We'd like to have you guys vote yes tonight on the agenda item 6 for Evergreen Park Trail. We are supportive of the Sheboygan County Cycling Group, which has spearheaded this endeavor. They are welcoming, inclusive, and organized. Our most favorite and challenging activity so far with the Sheboygan Cycling Group has been riding our bikes through Evergreen Park when it was decorated for Christmas, before everybody else went through in their cars. Last year when we did it, it was absolutely freezing outside. Thank you, everybody, for being there. And about 150 people showed up, and it was from little kids, even infants, to people of all ages and abilities and all kinds of bikes. It was incredible. Even though it was, if anybody was there or even knows how cold it was freezing. When we got there, there were so many welcoming volunteers and so many more participants than we expected, given the weather conditions. There were lots of families and people of all ages and abilities. There was a lit path with Christmas lights from the parking lot at the quarry over to across the bridge, over to where you meet the park in Evergreen. And it was just amazing and beautiful to see that the participants expected everyone, and everything was in place to facilitate the adventure and make it safe for everyone, which is typical of the SCC events. Because of the cold, it was absolutely challenging for everyone. Because of the cold, we figured no one would come, but so many people did, and SCC was ready for them, as they always are, thinking ahead. It was great. It was just absolutely great. Freezing cold, well-run community event. And we felt it was like a great accomplishment to do 2 laps. I mean, other people were doing more. We've been to several other meetings and events with SCC, and because we are members of the group, we get emails which are well-constructed, welcoming, inclusive, and informative. This group is the real deal. They do all their work and background. We are especially intrigued and proud to be involved with them because they do so much work in the forest in Evergreen, but also out at Greenbush, and they have gotten rid of so much of the bramble and trees and so forth from the windstorm. But of course, there's a lot more to do, which we can all see when we drive around in our cars. Just think if we could all work together and use the Sheboygan County Cycling Group as an example of how to work as a community, each pitching in the skills we have, which are all different and all important. We could accomplish so much more in Sheboygan and make it an even safer place to live and a better place to bike, and keep our taxes low, which I'm sure we all want to do. Anyway, we are totally on board with SCC. They are hardworking, dedicated to the Sheboygan County people and to safe cycling, and we ask that the Sheboygan County's proposal be passed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You just hit the 3-minute mark. All right. Anyone else wishing to speak at all? Go ahead. And you can state your name and address.
Certainly. My name is Austin Crisp. I live at 2724 Coral Memorial Drive, apartment 207. I'm up here in support of the plan. This improvement proposal will never be perfect in the eyes of people opposing this or in favor of it. It's in its current form, it might be as close to perfect as it might get. I know that SCC has put in countless hours working on this revision. Going through this revising loop for any additional amount of time, I feel like would be inefficient and disservice to those that have worked tirelessly on it. I can tell you from attending their meeting 5 days ago that the people that oppose it today would find different problems with it tomorrow. But I'm glad that SCC revised the proposal to remove the pump track. It wasn't right for Evergreen. But I'm also disappointed that they removed the advanced skill zone. But I understand why they did that. That is compromised in its most basic form. SCC has done a commendable job to explain to the citizens of Sheboygan what the trails will look like in the park, but frankly, no one can know exactly what the changes will look like until we have design documents in hand. This has led to some individuals worrying and frankly going off the deep end to say this is a land grab and only for a park for where bikes belong. But that's contrary to the fact of their entire verbiage of their proposal. One thing is for sure, the trails will be undoubtedly improved. I hear a lot of complaints about the flow trail section right now, and really I think all these trails is that they take advantage of gravity, and I will tell you that they are essentially there today. The only difference between today and tomorrow is that they will be mapped, defined, and professionally built. I also hear that some citizens are worried that the city doesn't let people know when they need volunteer help. You know, SEC is the official Adopt Park partner. If you really want to help, SEC is there. I volunteered there. I volunteered at their bike festival. They're great events. We do a lot of good work. And sometimes you're out there and you're removing sticks and debris from the park on your own. It might be having the wrong effect because sometimes we're trying to close trail or guard certain trails. Lastly, I'd just like to ask the committee members, if it hasn't already been apparent, there's a lot of people that are passionate about this project, and I just ask that they vote and act accordingly in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to go ahead?
My name is Nick Sobel, and I live at 624 Mayflower Avenue. I've lived in Sheboygan for the past 7 years, but my connection to Evergreen Park goes back more than 2 decades. I started mountain biking there over 20 years ago and would regularly drive to Sheboygan just to ride those trails long before I lived here. Now, as a member of this community and a father of 2 young kids, I see Evergreen Park as more than just a place to ride. It's a place where we teach our children the importance of fitness, nature, conservation. My son started riding mountain bikes on trails at just 3 years old. To help him develop his skills to ride safely, my family would often drive hours to visit other cities with youth-friendly bike skills areas, just like the ones proposed in areas C1 and C2 of the SCC proposal. But not all families have this ability. I think providing these features right here in Sheboygan would be a huge benefit for local kids and families. I've tried taking my son riding in Evergreen Park, but the current trail conditions combined with the poor signage and confusing layout make it difficult and even unsafe for younger riders. The SCC proposal addresses all of these issues with thoughtful updates that balance access, safety, and conservation. These improvements aren't just about biking. They're about creating a safe, healthy space for our community to grow and connect with the outdoors. I strongly support this plan and believe it reflects what Evergreen Park needs to serve the next generation of Sheboygan residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. And then you, sir. Oh, okay.
Jessica Wiegand, 3012 Cherokee Drive in Sheboygan. I'd like to share that there has been some compromise, but the plan still does not include anything to instill confidence that proper consideration will be given to the environment and all park users. We've learned at the information session last week that every good trail plan should have restoration goals, and this plan does not currently include that. We also heard that somebody would study the topography and soil type to determine the final trail layout. Looking at the proposed areas, as IMBA has already done, anyone can quickly determine that there should not be biking through the proposed areas. This plan does not say these studies will happen or show a budget for them currently. In addition to these items not being part of the plan, there is evidence currently lined up to prove that the environment and all park users have not and will not be considered. Phase 1 of this project marked trails through immensely eroded areas, wetlands, and directly through at least 2 designated picnic areas. Now, currently untouched woods will have skill area trails running through them. We've also seen professionally built trails at Rocky Knoll with dirt running 2 to 3 feet up healthy trees for flow, and that all users cannot easily use despite being marked as multi-use. Every time we see examples of people riding bikes on proposed trails, we see pictures of children and families riding bikes on flat trails through the woods. That differs from the proposed skill and flow areas that are currently shown on the map. It feels like a diversion not to hear these areas talked about when we hear trails or see them in photos of shared use trails. Survey data shows that only around 17% of park users are bikers today. If you looked at the usage rate by activity, I would bet biking, let alone mountain biking, moves even further down the list. The largest user groups can be evident if you walk through the park on any given night, and it's not biking, based on my experience. Survey data also shows that bikers ride primarily on paved surfaces. All of this to show that we're creating trails that will only make it more difficult for the primary users of the park to enjoy trails in all 4 Wisconsin seasons. We keep being promised this is only a concept plan, but this is the plan before you for approval this evening and the working document then therefore going forward. Please don't let this move forward without explicitly stating and funding the study and restoration goals as part of this project. And please don't let this project move forward without considering the impact of all these bike skills and flow areas on the City of Sheboygan users and throughout all 4 Wisconsin seasons. Thank you.
Okay. Sure, you're the next one up.
Steve Hofschild, 2736 North 29th Street. That's in the 1st District, about 160 feet outside of Evergreen Park. Okay. I encourage you to vote no on the Evergreen Park bike plan. Implementing the plan would be a mistake that would be difficult to correct. There is public support for restoring and improving the park's existing trails. There isn't widespread support for building mountain bike skill zones that drastically change the park. That idea came from only one small special interest group, Sheboygan County Cycling, SCC. As noted, there are lots of misconceptions about SCC's plan. One of them is that Evergreen Park is underused and something needs to be done to increase its usage. I've been the park's neighbor for 42 years. Whenever I look at the park from my home, I see people using the park all seasons of the year and all types of weather, all times of the day. People on the road walking, jogging, skiing, riding bikes, and driving through the park in motorized vehicles. When I go into the park, there are even more people, picnickers, parents playing with their children, people hiking the trails, elderly people relaxing in parked cars. Everyone is enjoying and making use of a quiet, natural, forested park. Evergreen Park is already serving its intended purpose. Another misconception is that opponents of the plan are against having bikes in the park. Hikers and bikers already share trails in the park. What I am against is building a mountain bike destination with mountain bike skill zones that drastically change the park. At last week's public meeting, SCC characterized bike skill zones as multi-use trails. To prove their point, they showed a video of hikers and mountain bikers sharing a trail in Rochester, Minnesota. What the video actually showed was a natural hiking trail that had been improved to allow mountain bikers to sedately ride the trail. What it did not show was a mountain bike skill zone being used as a multi-use trail. This sleight of hand avoided showing the true nature of a mountain bike skills trail, which is mountain bikers racing over man-made features such as jumps, moguls, and steep embankments. These are not conducive to shared use. Finally, there is the misconception that the city is incapable of maintaining the park and it needs help from a partner. In the 42 years I've been the park's neighbor, I have noticed a decline in its maintenance, especially after the June 2022 windstorm. I don't know if the park is mismanaged or it's just underfunded, under-resourced, and park personnel are doing the best they can in a bad situation. What I do believe is that the city itself has the wherewithal to repair and maintain the park as it is currently configured. What is missing is the political will. Don't make the short-sighted mistake of voting for this plan. Vote no.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing? Well, you're first, you're second.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Lyons. I live at 2746 North 29th Street. Afternoon Public Works Committee, I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak in regards to Resolution 442526, Evergreen Park Concept Plan presented by Sheboygan County Cycling. The original plan has been revised with the removal of the pump track as well as the jump and advance feature zone. While this was a step forward, I believe the removal of C2 as well, a bicycle skill area, would be a fair and just compromise. The current plan has a skill area C1 with identical features less than 100 feet away from the proposed location. Eliminating this feature would leave this area as a natural forest as it has been since the park's conception. Finally, if this plan is approved, let it be known that SCC and IMBA will not be cleaning the park of downed trees, widowmakers, or invasive species, as many have been led to believe. Evergreen Park's trails are in poor condition, but nothing can state the obvious as to the condition of the forest itself since the 2022 storm and prior to the lack of maintenance. Damaged trees and invasive species have taken over what once was the gem of the city. Alders and members of the city that attended informal walks provided by Friends of Evergreen clearly observed the condition of the park, and some were even shocked. SCC's past cleanup practices involve cutting branches or trees and pushing them out of the paths of their trails, along with blowing and clearing leaves. Prior to site work taking place, a comprehensive plan for restoration needs to be put in place, funded by the city, as it is a city park. Cleanup will require an outside forestry service, as this would overwhelm our current urban forestry department. The department director of Public Works should be in charge of this plan, as the current superintendent has shown throughout this process his inability to manage or resolve problems in regards to the city's parks and forestation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Lady there.
Haley Veldboom, 802 New York Avenue in Oostburg. Hi, my name is Haley, and like most 18-year-olds, I don't find myself at these meetings very often, but this is something that I'm very passionate about, and I care about the park a lot. I've been using Evergreen Park since I was on a Barbie bike with training wheels, and I have used it for hiking, snowshoeing, and biking because I love the outdoors and staying active. I've been a part of Sheboygan Composite, which is a youth mountain bike team in Sheboygan County for athletes grades 6th through 12th, and it was first established in 2021, and since then we have been using Evergreen Park to practice twice a week. I believe that the park improvements would greatly benefit our team and other members of the community. I specifically think of our younger and newer athletes, and the conditions of our current trails are sometimes challenging, and I took a look at the proposed plan, and they have a perimeter trail, which I feel like would be very beneficial for people that are getting new into hiking or biking and allow them to enjoy it and find a love for being active and outside. A concern from the community addressed was the fact of the trails being multi-use. They currently are being multi-used. For example, many parents, when they drop off their kids for practice, they'll hike or run or bike on the same trails we're practicing on. And I agree that this is something that won't be changed. It'll just be improved and make it safer and easier for these trails to be used by all users. I trust SCC and the professionals that they're going to work with, that these trails will remain sustainable and accessible to all users. Like I've said, I've used these trails for many, many years, and the improvements they will create will allow me to continue using these trails along with every other community member. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thanks, Haley. I was hesitant to speak because I'm not a resident of Sheboygan. I'm a resident of Kohler, the surrounding Sheboygan area. I was encouraged to speak tonight because I have a background in parks and recreation. I was on a park board for 18 years, served 5 of those years as the president of that park board. Have a lot of experience of resistance to parks and facilities being developed in the community. I firmly believe that we acquire land. There's lots of grants out there in order to acquire land so that the community, all of the community, can have access to it. I also come here because I was forever a biker until recently, and I just recently got back into biking. I have 4 children, raised them, I would say at least once a week during the spring, summer, fall time. We biked. We were out on the trails all over. And I recently got back into biking because of e-bikes, and it's nice to have a way to get into a natural area. If you don't have a shared use facilities, you don't have the ability to access the actual nature and natural area. And to that point, shared use, I just got back on Tuesday. I attended the meeting that SCC had at the library. And I had just got back that day from Peninsula State Park. And Peninsula State Park has several shared use. And on that day, we biked. And we biked pretty much the easy trails. There are the difficult trails, and there are easier trails. And we were hiking. We didn't bike. We were hiking. And we probably encountered 20 different bikes within, that time period with no incidents. They weren't, disrespectful to us. We weren't disrespectful to them. The trail was set up. I think the trails in Evergreen Park right now, they're called shared use. I don't believe they are shared use. I was in Evergreen Park helping out with Making Spirits Bright, and I was trying to hike a trail, and there's no signage, and I was kind of got lost trying to figure out, and it was cold out there that night when I was volunteering out there. So as a former elected official, I really think it's a godsend to have a community group with such interests take and willing to continue this forward and save the tax dollars money, because there is an interest to improve Evergreen Park, and you have it right in your lap. So I encourage you to go ahead with the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mike, it looks like I knew you were going to speak, so we're just waiting for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I go, regardless of where you are on this topic, can we give a hand to the young girl from Oostburg? There is hope for our country when I see young people like that. Okay, Mike Scheringer. I live at 3020 Cherokee Drive. Tonight, just 6 calendar days since the revised plan was shared, you are being asked to approve the plan for Evergreen Park. Parks Manager Joe Curlin cites in his memo to this committee, it is very apparent that SCC has listened to public concerns and has made adjustments to the proposal. SCC has made some notable adjustments by removing the asphalt pump track in the advanced skills zone. What remains in the plan are 2 elements the community has clearly identified as significant points of concern: areas C1 and C2 and the bike playground. I'll use my time to speak to the bike playground and its location adjacent to the Shaw Family Park. It has been clearly shown that the available infrastructure at this site, which includes 44 parking spots, 8 of which are reserved for handicap, cannot support this level of activity and will inevitably result in neighborhood conflict. The alternative site recommended by community members and shared with elected members of this committee and previously with SCC is also within Evergreen Park and has 4 designated parking areas adjacent to it with a total of 157 parking spots. As recently as this morning, an individual closely affiliated with this topic corresponded with me, and I quote, "You expressed frustration that this element has not been moved despite knowing the city had asked for them to be placed where they are," end quote. It seems to many like a win-win proposal to move this to the alternative site. If it is in fact city government that desires to see this feature where it is being proposed, please speak clearly to that so residents understand your position on this topic. Residents of this city ask that elected leaders act based upon facts and logic. Your decisions should be supported and informed by those public servants who find their employment within the departments that exist to serve these same residents. I would ask that you reject the false argument that a vote not recommending approval is a vote that the Common Council believes things are good the way they are. Many of you have walked the park and you have seen for yourself that things are not good the way they are. The issue that the community raised was not things are good the way they are. The issue was a concept plan for mountain biking related infrastructure was proposed that would dramatically alter the makeup and use of the park. The question before you tonight is simple. Have the revisions to the plan sufficiently addressed these concerns? You can vote to approve if you think substantive changes have been made and you have been presented with a plan that has the best interest of all park users in mind. Or you can vote to reject and ask that more work be done and the very best possible concept plan be brought to this committee. Neither decision would be 100% right or 100% wrong. So, in the end, I think you need to ask, what do your constituents want? Hopefully, 6 days has provided you enough time to know the answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Larkin Jorgensen, 1823 North 6th Street here in town. I have 2 children. One of them is 13 and has been biking with Sheboygan Composite for 2 years now. One of them is 9 and doesn't really bike. I adore the placement of the smaller area, the bike area near Shaw Playground, especially when they were younger. When one was 7 and one was 5, 5 being the target age for Shaw Park, 7 being old enough to enjoy the bike feature that's being proposed in that location, but not old enough to be out of sight of the parents. The parking, extensive in Evergreen Park, is a very reasonable walk to Shaw Playground with 2 children in tow, one of them who's going to bike, one of them who's going to be on the playground. That particular feature in that particular location is one that I find phenomenal and very useful for parents with multiple ages of children. More broadly, I'm solidly in support of the plan and hope that you vote yes on the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to. I'm going to try to keep it to just singles. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Go ahead, sir. Did you? I thought you raised your hand. Okay. Were you going to? Oh, go ahead. I knew you were going to tell you.
I can see it on my face.
Yeah.
Okay, I am Yana Soriano. I live at 2724 Kohler Memorial Drive in town. And I was writing as people were talking, so I'm going to try to cover these as best I can here. I am an environmental consultant. I'm not an engineer. Thank you. But I do play one at work sometimes, and I work with other registered professional engineers. I also have a substantial amount of time building Ice Age Trail, another great volunteer-led organization maintaining and building trails in the state of Wisconsin. So I guess I'd like to start out with a little bit of disappointment with environmental concerns, because we are open and would happy to have people come to us with concerns for discussion. So Jessica, I know that you attended one of our Q&A sessions. Maybe you also attended the one this past week. We would have been happy to field some of your questions remaining after that. But a number of them I feel like have already been addressed. So it's unfortunate that maybe you're still holding those thoughts. But I can promise you that there is a mountain bike trail, sustainable, non-eroding, like eroding to the standards that we can build dirt trails to on both flat surfaces and surfaces with topography. Engineers can handle that level of variation. That's what they do for a living. You quoted a survey with 17%. Was that our survey by chance for IMBA? So I think we've mentioned this before, but that is a misunderstanding of our numbers. So people could answer that they both bike, they hike, they picnic. So just because you see more answered hike, those may be people who bike and hike. So it's not fair to say that there are only 17% that are biking and that the rest are hikers. That's a misrepresentation of what our survey allowed people to do, since they could answer both of those use types. I will reiterate that the locations drawn on the map are a concept, and the lines are so thick that you can't say exactly where that falls on the topography. We tried to make them thicker so people would understand where the trails could potentially be. It's hard to present all of that information on one map, which we really tried to do to give people an easy visual, because we understood that our plan was confusing before. So we spent a lot of time trying to clean that up. Personally, I love that you brought up restoration. That can absolutely be part of any plan for a mountain bike trail. It is common to be part of mountain bike trail and memorandums of understanding. I believe Josh, our guest speaker, shared some examples of that where people have partnerships for removing invasive species, revegetating areas. That is totally good feedback that can be incorporated into the design portion, as well as the location of the playground, because SCC is committed to working with the city, and whatever the appropriate location is based on the engineering feedback and the city's desires is what's going to be put into the actual design plan that we propose later. And again, part of our thought process is to direct people to parking at Quarry and the lots within Evergreen rather than directing them to Shaw Playground. So materials that talk about the bike playground would be directing to those larger parking lots that you brought up, which would be great, rather than overloading the already small parking area at Shaw. There is a lot of concern with the skill areas. We understand this is not something that everyone has seen before. Before I mountain bike, I had never seen it. And so I personally am working on a one-pager that we can release to show more pictures. I understand people would really benefit from that to see what they look like. I think a lot of people don't realize it could look like trail stabilization. It can be a single rock. It's not something that's necessarily obvious in a large constructed wooden feature. So I really hope that people take the opportunity to learn if we present more images to share so that we can be on the same page with what we're proposing, because there is so much variation for mountain bikes on what the parks look like that when you hear a flow zone or a skill area, so I just will say I hope in the future that Save Evergreen Park does collaborate with us, because they haven't reached out to us much, and we'd love to clear up miscommunication. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think are we all? We have one more yet? Okay. Hopefully we can wrap this up quick.
Sure, sorry.
That's all right.
My name is Tom Kraus. I live at 713 Columbus Avenue. A little bit of history. I moved to Sheboygan in 2007 in the summer, and my daughter at that time was about 10 years old. On a weekend, we just got on our bikes and started riding around. She hadn't started school yet, but we knew where Pigeon River Elementary School was, so we went over that way. If anyone familiar with that area is, if you go down the hill by Pigeon Elementary, you'll come across a trail that goes along the Pigeon River. You go on that trail, you come up by the quarry. From the quarry, you can go over to Evergreen Park. So my mind was blown, and I can't imagine how my daughter felt. She must have been to the moon and back to be able to ride her bike without any traffic around on these nice little trails. And then when we got to Evergreen Park, we could ride around the paved area. We rode up and down the trails. She had a blast. And we made some friends. We did the same thing, kind of repeat. We didn't drive there. We rode our bikes there, so the parking wasn't an issue. Fast forward 4 years later, when my son was about 9, 10 years old, did the same thing. And he loved it. And my son Ben, maybe because of that, the love of biking, got into cross-country skiing, cross-country running, went to college, and is now a triathlete. So I am very much in favor of this. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I just need 30 seconds.
Okay, that's fine.
I've been running pop-up bike playground, Steve Jorgensen, 2227 Erie Avenue, Sheboygan. I got this idea from some dads in lacrosse that threw up a couple features on asphalt, and kids started showing up, and more kids, and it just exploded. And they presented 5 years ago, and I heard about it. So when I moved to Sheboygan 4 years ago, my grandkids are here, and I wanted to try that. And I heard about SCC, and they said, yeah, let's make this happen. And so I'm here to speak on behalf of probably over 250 kids from this age to this age that have enjoyed our pop-up playground behind Shaw Park the last 3 years we've done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? Okay, I think I'm going to close it down then. Anyone have any comments from our committee here? Oh, Alder Rust.
Thank you, Chair. First, I would like to once again thank the young girl for coming and speaking. I know this is not a very great opportunity. It's very decisive. I would like to make a motion to move the bike playground off of this plan and move it to a different park in the city. And I would also like to make a motion that this plan includes restoration goals that was asked earlier for the trails. So I'm making two motions.
Don't we have to first, I'm just going to ask Liz here 1 second. I think, don't we have to first make a motion to approve and then make a amended? Is that?
Yeah, that's
okay. Here, you're on fire. That's right. I'm sorry.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Liz.
You're correct. We would ask that you first move to approve, get a second on that, then you can file your motions to amend or to take any other action on the proposal. And then you would move to adopt the amendment and then approve as amended.
All right, thank you. Otherwise, then I would just like to state that I think that I like the idea of a bike playground, and I think that we can utilize another park that's underutilized in the city for something like that. And I do think that we do have to make sure we are protecting the park, and we do have to include restoration goals with this as we move forward with it, just to quell any fears about that in the future.
Okay. I am not necessarily in favor of moving the children's bike thing. I think that it's been working out well where when you've had the pop-up there. I actually talked to someone from Shaw Playground, actually. I said, hey, what do you guys think of this? Is this going to be, and they said, we think it's great. That's what I heard from them. They think it's great for the exact reason that she spoke about, because they can have kids playing at the Shaw Playground and they can have kids playing at the bike playground. Doing both at the same time is actually beneficial. So that's where I come in. So I would not really be in support of that particular part of it. As far as restoration is concerned, I do believe restoration is important, and I think that can be part of the conversation. I don't know necessarily how we can put that into this proposal. That's a question, but I'm going to let somebody else talk now. Well, Susie, I'll put you up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say, I think even before I was elected, I was having conversations. I took a tour of the park and have been through the park since then as well. I commend everybody for keeping the dialogue going. I commend everybody for attempting to make compromises that are palatable for everyone in the community. I was having a discussion before we started the meeting, and I said no one's going to be completely happy. I don't think, regardless of the outcome. Some people will be somewhat dissatisfied. Some people will be somewhat satisfied. I think that's oftentimes how things of this nature tend to work out. I do think that the two items that were mentioned, I don't believe that moving the playground would be, I an appropriate motion, I guess. At this point in time, I think that this is still conceptual. There's obviously still the actual design that has to go into place. I do think that the current proposed location for the bike playground is conducive to use of Shaw Family Playground, as well as progressive use of the trails eventually for kids who are taking advantage of that playground area. I also share concerns around conservation. I think that's a great point that Alder Rust had brought up, and I think we can look to address that as we move forward with the formal design plan, as caveats that are added in potentially. But ultimately, I think that the work that's been done in the community to come up with concessions, as